This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
It's the Reimagine India Hour, brought to you by Visa. In this hour, every Monday and Wednesday, we connect with the stalwarts and change makers of the country from various walks of life who are reimagining India through their initiatives. An India that is transforming public places with street art, increasing green cover with vertical gardens, celebrating festivals without noise, and India where we can... Very pleased to welcome India's first Formula 4 driver and Airline pilot Sneha Sharma. What's up, Sneha? How you doing?
Hello, Hrishi. It's a pleasure to be here on my favorite channel and favorite show.
And I believe that you always have it on in the car, and even if your pick-up and drop, the airline pick-up and drop, has some other station playing, you make them change it, yeah?
Definitely, I do that. I wish I could tune it into my aircraft and the car.
Let's start with your journey towards being an airline pilot before we come to the racing and all that stuff, yeah? So tell me how it all began, how it all started. Was this like a childhood thing that I want to become a pilot? Because, you know, kids mostly do that. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a pilot. Because those are glamorous things for kids.
That's right. So when I was young, I used to sail on the ship with my dad a lot, and I would look at the sky and there would be so many stars, and there would be just one star which would be moving, and that would be an airplane, and I wanted to be flying that airplane. So that's when my passion was born when I was about 7 years old. But somehow my journey of racing began before flying when I was 14. I started my training when I was 16 in India, went to the US when I was 17 for my flying training, San Francisco, California. Came back and converted my US license to Indian license, and then got through Indigo, and now I'm flying the Airbus A320 from the past 6 years.
Lovely. And I believe you fly an Indigo, yeah? That's where you're flying.
That's right, and they're also my sponsors.
Lovely. Okay, for those of you who are tuned in, we're 94.3 on the FM band on Mumbai radio sets. We're also streaming audio live online across the nation on www.onecast.in. That's numeral 1cast.in. And of course, only if you're not driving, statutory warning if you're in the backseat of a radio taxi or you're being chauffeur driven, then we're also streaming video live at radio1.in. That's facebook.com/radio1.mum. Okay, as far as racing is concerned, there's a wonderful quote of yours that I picked up, which says that once the helmet is on, your gender doesn't matter. Yeah? Talk me through that. Talk me about being a woman in a largely male-dominated world.
That's right. So the best part about racing, I always like to share, is that it allows men and women to compete on the same platform. That's right. Every time I'm racing, I'm mostly the only girl on track among, say, 20 guys in my category and about 200 in the whole championship. So most often, people are not very welcome to a woman being on track. It's one thing to be competing with one, but when a lot of them lose to me, they don't take it that well.
Yes. Basically, you whoop them.
Yes,
the boys on the track. And they come out with their heads hanging really low.
Exactly. And so that is why I always say, once the helmet is on, I'm not a man or a woman, I'm only a racing driver. And I think that's the attitude all women or men alike should carry at the workplace. They're only a trained professional and not a gender specific.
Wonderful. Now, tell me how you made the grade to Formula 1. Do you start with go-karting or Formula 4? Sorry. Did you start with go-karting?
That's right. As most international racing drivers start their routes at go-karting, I started with 4-stroke karting in Mumbai. Since I didn't have professional training, I asked the mechanics to train me. I gathered some pocket money, lunch money, and even invaded my piggy bank and told them train me. I learned some basic techniques like cornering, braking, overtaking, and steering. With that, I participated in a lot of local races in which I got picked up by a national team, and that's how my journey took on.
Was this at the go-karting track in Powai?
That's right.
That was the only one in the back in the day, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah? Wonderful. Sneha Sharma, airline pilot, Formula 4 racer here. Natalie Cole, Pink Cadillac 904, back in the Reimagine India Hour. Yeah, actually, that Natalie Cole song, Pink Cadillac, it also has a Bruce Springsteen version of Bruce Springsteen, Pink Cadillac, Pink. Sneha Sharma is here. Formula 4 racer, airline pilot in the Reimagine India Hour, brought to you by Visa. We're connecting with stalwarts and change makers of the country from various walks of life. More conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Now explain to me about what Formula 4 is in terms of engines. Yeah, just treat me like the ignoramus, the ignorant person in the house. What really is Formula 4 racing?
So I'll start with explaining different forms of racing. The basics are go-kart, 4-stroke karting. Then you move to Rotax karts, which are Austrian engines and various chassis, mostly Italian. And that's where you pick up your basics. Then you move to either saloon cars or formula cars. Saloon cars are like closed wheel cars, for example, like a NASCAR looking car on a circuit. And then formula cars, which I believe are truly race cars, are open wheel cars where you can actually see your wheels while racing. So Formula 4 is one of such cars, and they're really fun to race. And this is how it works. Speed is not really a concern. I've been to a top speed of 270 in one of the other Mercedes championships, but carrying even 30 kilometers an hour through a sharp corner can be really tough. So that is what really decides a skillful racing driver.
And I was told that Lewis Hamilton, when he gets in, he loses a few kilos by the time he comes out. Has there ever been a race where you've come out and you've suddenly gone on the weighing scale and said, "Oh, Sneha, you've lost so many kgs"?
Yes, I have lost 3.4 kgs in one of this 24 hours endurance which I did. It was an international participation race, and I drove for 9.5 hours, whereas I was just supposed to drive for 4 hours. A lot of fitness went into that, and yes, by the end of the day I had petrol burns, a couple of rib injuries, and I had lost 3.4 kgs of weight.
Eesh. So what do? You dip yourself into an ice bath like what the football players and the rugby players do? Yeah, all these bruises and things like that. What is rehab when you get out? Do you get yourself a massage? How does it work?
No, I mean, we don't have such things right now. But yes, I do undergo a lot of physiotherapy and fitness training along with that. Cold and hot baths alternatively are a new therapy a lot of athletes are using. So jump in a cold pool and then a hot pool and alternate. So it relaxes your muscles.
So you said you were 270. Is that miles or kilometers per hour?
Kilometers per hour.
And when you're flying up in the air as an airline pilot, what speeds are you doing there?
So yeah, well, that's like... The ground speed we go to is about 1,000 kilometers an hour.
Yo, mamma mia. Any tricky situations up in the air? Yeah? Do you want to tell us about?
No, not tricky situation, but one most memorable flight I have is when we did the Jammu-Srinagar rescue operations. When the floods were there up there north, it was really difficult to fly in there. There were a lot of military aircraft. It was like a war zone, and I think my airline did free rescue operations from that airfield, and it was fun because all the radio networks were down, the telephones were down, so we had to take certain critical decisions, swap aircrafts, and calculate the loads, and then depart from there. So yeah, that's a good memory.
So how does it work? I mean, I know that male captains, they get a lot of attention from the female flight attendant crew, because they're like, oh, captain is coming. And since you're a lady captain, do the boys, the pursers, turn around and say, oh, lady captain, can I get you something? How's the attention, man? I'm sure you're not complaining, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think I'm complaining about racing or flying. It is good, although Indigo, we have all-female cabin crew. Ironically.
So you have to depend on the ground staff for attention. I mean,
that's right, or the passengers.
Or the passengers, yes. The passengers who see her in a smart uniform. Anyway, just give out your social media handles so that people can actually go and check you out in uniform. I'm sure there's some pictures there.
Yes, a lot of them. So on Instagram, I am Sneha Sharma 52, which is my race car number. Twitter, I am Sneha Sharma 90. That's Sneha Sharma 90. Facebook, just Sneha Sharma athlete page.
Lovely. Okay, we're going to take some Tom Petty, Free Falling, and then come back on the Reimagine India Hour, brought to you by Visa, with Sneha Sharma. She's a Formula 4 racer and airline pilot. Keep yourself busy, because you're not going to hear us for the next 8 to 10 minutes, because there's a song and then some messages coming up. One space your comment, or one space your question in your name, to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, you go to the search bar, you type HRISHIKAY, it will pop up. And you could tweet out with your name or post on the timeline inbox with your name, any comment you want me to read out on the show, or any question you want me to ask Sneha. And finally, facebook.com/radio1.mum, our official page. There again, drop a comment or question on the timeline or inbox, and I'll bring it up on the show. Tom Petty, Free Falling, with Sneha Sharma in studio, 9:13. I'm Hrishikesh.
Hashtag Reimagine India with Hrishikesh. Brought to you by Visa. You reimagine India, Visa reimagines payments.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Back for the attack on the Reimagine India Hour, brought to you by Visa. Sneha Sharma, Formula 4 racer, the fastest Indian woman, no pun intended. An airline pilot is in studio, and I'm in conversation with her every Monday and Wednesday at 9 o'clock. We bring you change makers, stalwarts of the country from various walks of life who are reimagining India through their initiatives. So, tell me about the teams you've raced for, the championships you've raced in, most memorable ones, yeah?
Most memorable. So I started with Rayo Racing, then I moved to Dark Dawn Racing. Currently I'm driving with Miko Racing. I've driven various types of cars. Saloon cars, I've driven the Toyota EMR. I've driven the Mercedes Youngster Drive, which was my most memorable race. I reached a top speed of 270, stood top 5 in the country, only girl. And then Volkswagen Polo Cup, the maiden season, Formula 4 LGB, of course. I've test driven the Formula BMW for a shoot. And along with that, we also set the national record for Tata Motors on the only banked circuit. So a lot of us don't know there is a circuit which is very long for testing military vehicles at Ahmednagar VRDE. It's the only banked circuit in India. So we drove 50,000 kilometers, set the national record. It's also in talks for the Guinness and the Limca book record right now. So these are a few of my most memorable races.
Sweet. And when you were a kid, whose car were you testing your skills on? Dads, moms, uncles? Somebody must have, had a few missed heartbeats. And what was your area? I mean, when you were growing up as a kid, there wasn't any ceiling to let it rip in the middle of the night and things like that. So I promise not to tell the cops.
Yes, that's right.
Unless they're listening to this already.
Yeah, so Actually, I used to cycle a lot, My parents wouldn't let me touch the car. So I would go speeding on the streets. And so many times bike guys would be like trying to cut me. And I would actually win against them in traffic. And sometimes they would come and diss me. Oh, ladki hai, chalane nahi aata. And sometimes they would actually come and pay respect. Like, oh, good riding. So I knew there's something inside of me and I have to find a platform to express it. So that's when I went and tried go-karting.
Tell me about all the gear that you need. Yeah, it couldn't be easy when you're in that car, especially in the Formula 4. Adequate protection, your suit could get hot in there.
It does get very hot, very rightly said. We have a Hans, which is a head and neck support in case of whiplash injury. So it connects to a helmet. The helmet itself is quite heavy and we use really high-tech helmets. I'm using the Arai helmet. Along with that, we have fire-resistant inners, including socks, a balaclava, then gloves. In fact, the skin from my hand peels off when I'm racing because the amount of force required to grip the steering wheel is really hard because you're really fighting the car when you're trying to turn it. Then you have a special racing shoes. Racing shoes are actually flat soled so that you can switch gears and the clutch and all really well. One very important technique we use is called blipping, heel and toe. A lot of road drivers wouldn't know, so we are actually pressing all 3 pedals at the same time. So you brake for a corner. While you're downshifting and the clutch is in, you actually blip, you press the accelerator so the engine revs stay high, and that's how you get out of the corner fast.
Wow. And you at least given it a rip as far as testing is concerned.
Yes, I have tried it out at Abu Dhabi.
How was that?
That was fun.
Which team car did you use?
This was the track car. This was not a team car, but it felt amazing. And the G forces which actually act on your body are really high. Most people think racing is a very easy sport on the body because you're just sitting and driving. But you really need a lot of strength to be able to, fight that car and to really race competitively on the Budh circuit especially, which is the only Formula 1 circuit in India right now.
And right now your team is Miko Racing.
That's right, Miko Racing.
So there's some trivia for you. Every year at the end of the JK Tyre National Racing Championship, there is an audio visual that plays at the award ceremony when the awards are given out, and that's in my voice. You don't recognize it, award.
I thought it's heard somewhere.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for years. So, I'm really familiar with all you guys. I've never been able to put a face to the name, but I take all your names all the time, and the teams and things like that. So you're with Meko and some incredible stuff happening there. Talk about your team.
Yeah, my team is amazing. They also believe in driver development along with just giving a good car. So they're very receptive to a driver because a race car is not in a racing condition when you actually approach it. It needs to be set up as per your driving style. So I'm an aggressive driver, so my suspension is adjusted accordingly. The wheel response is accordingly. The brakes, I like my brakes really hard. So when I brake late, I get that amount of deceleration. Things like that. And this team is based in Chennai. It's also headed by the president of Indian Motorsport, Mr. Akbar Ibrahim, who's really doing a lot for the sport.
Is he Arman's dad?
Exactly, yes.
Arman Ibrahim's dad. Great.
Yes,
so you're all one happy racing family. Reimagine India Hour. More with Sneha Sharma, the fastest woman in India, no pun intended. Formula 4 racer, airline pilot. Right after this, right said Fred, you're my mate. 9:32 live. I'm Hrishikesh.
Hashtag Reimagine India with Hrishikesh. Brought to you by Visa. You reimagine India. Visa reimagines payments.
Right, said Fred, the guys who also gave us to Sexy. Okay, a quick one for you guys. If you've just tuned in, only if you're not driving, you're in the back seat of a radio taxi being chauffeur driven, then or you're in the office or at home without a radio set, then we're streaming video live on Twitter as well as Periscope at HRISHIKY. That's Twitter and Periscope at HRISHIKY. We've also tagged Sneha Sharma, and you can follow her on Twitter. Post that. In conversation in the Reimagine India Hour with a Formula 4 racer, airline pilot who's just crashed all gender boundaries and is doing so well for herself.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So for all those young ladies out there who want to be pilots, you know, a lot of them have these barriers in their head saying, oh, it's a male-dominated profession. B, it's very expensive. Talk to me about that. How did you start? How does one go about it? I mean, just do some career guidance for us.
That's right. So when I was about 15, 16, I decided I want to be a pilot. I started undergoing ground training in India. But I decided to go abroad for my training. At that time, the infrastructure here was not that good, although now it is pretty good. So I did take a lot of loans to pursue my flying studies. When you go for your flying training, you fly smaller aircrafts like the Cessna 152, Cessna 172, Piper Seminole, Seneca, things like that, which are multi-engine aircrafts. You fly for about 250 hours and training yourself in different things such as, of course, takeoff and landing, unusual attitudes such as stalls, and sometimes even spins. Once you come back, you have to get a government license from India. A lot of people don't know pilots do a lot of things more than just flying. We also have to be aware of the aviation law. We have to know about the weather, meteorologists, and we have to be good at psychology also. There's something called CRM, because a lot of accidents in the past have happened because of bad communication and maybe bad behavior. So we undergo serious training for that as well. So when I came back, then I got through Indigo, and then I went for my type rating. Type rating is specialization on a airliner, the Airbus A320. So I went to Kuala Lumpur for the same. Again, I took some loans and where we're trained to fly these jet aircraft. Jet aircrafts behave very different from a conventional training aircraft because we have undermounted engines, and jets have some spool up time. That is, they take some time to respond once you add the thrust. So I got such training, and the minimum requirement is 12th in maths and physics for all you people who want to pursue flying. But I've also done my graduation in management just to add some feathers. And after that, for a pilot who's flying online in an airline, you have to undergo training every year. 6 monthly we have simulator training, where we practice all emergencies, starting from engine failures to fires to hydraulic failures and even crew incapacitation, which I'm sure assures you that you guys are in safe hands when you all are flying up there. And yes, that is about it with flying.
Now, so you did it in San Francisco, right?
Yes.
Where can they do it here? Are there any academies that give you this course? What is it called? A commercial pilot's course? Is that what it is?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So who does it in India, for example?
So in India, Indigo itself has a cadet program where you can appear for the exam, and then they take care of your training and your employment. And there are some other schools such as Chimes Aviation, and then Miami has a school called Dean Aviation and things like that. So the DGCA website guides a person to clear their medical. Before anybody aspires to be a pilot, it is important to make sure you are clearing the medical, because that decides if you can fly or not fly.
So the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, go onto that website and you'll get more details on how to clear that medical. And eventually when you go for that license, how tough is the examination? Is it really stringent and practical as well as theory? Yeah?
Yes, it is. It is difficult. It happens once only in 3 months, and then you need a different radio telephony license which comes from the Ministry of Communication. So you need a lot of all these documents. But I think if somebody is passionate about it, can go. Like a lot of people think, a pilot's job is this glamorous. You wear that uniform and then you go fly, travel, but it's
make a lot of money. But this is a prime example of, to get to that money, you've got to really work and be persistent, because there are lots of layers to it. Sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
It's cool. Yeah, it is quite serious, because we also do something called a Cat 3 Bravo landing, which happens, it's an automatic landing in zero visibility, and it's not zero visibility technically, but we are not looking out. The aircraft is landing on its own, and in that we need to monitor the automation really well. and we have to make sure there are no failure cases, and you need to make split-second decisions. And sometimes you would have woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning, you're doing 4 flights in a day. Afterwards, you might just position one more sector after that. So it gets difficult, so you have to be really alert and make sure you're in the right state of mind and body to be able to fly.
Wonderful. Okay, a last leg of conversation up ahead with Sneha Sharma, Formula 4 racer, airline pilot, and the Reimagine India Hour brought to you by Visa, where she's going to tell us how she reimagines India, her idea of India. This is going to be wonderful. Last opportunity to get all your messages and questions in. I'm going to read every one of them out at the end of the show. 1 space your comment or 1 space your question and your name to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, you go to the search bar, you type HRISHIKAY, I'll pop up. You could tweet out or you post in the timeline inbox on Facebook along with your name and facebook.com/radio1.mum. A comment or a question for Sneha Sharma on the timeline inbox along with your name, and you're good to go. You'll hear your name and your message or your question on the air. Sean Paul, David Guerra, Becky G. The hot carton hit called Mad Love. After that, some messages, so you won't hear us for 10 minutes. It's 9:41. My name is Hrishikesh.
Hashtag Reimagine India with Hrishikesh. Brought to you by Visa. You reimagine India. Visa reimagines payments.
When you're looking like that, Westlife, Sneha Sharma loves this. Sohail Merchant says, Navroz Mubarak to you, Hrishikesh, and all the wonderful listeners and the guests of Radio 1. Cheers for the new beginnings and strengthening of old relationships, peace, happiness, and good health to all. It is my favorite community of all. All my closest friends are Babajis and Bhavis. Hello, Parsis. Love you all. Thank you for keeping us alive and kicking. Questions now for Sneha. This one is from Pradeep Nagpal. Since she's flying the Airbus, what's her opinion on the grounding of PW engines? Indigo is affected the most, I guess. Your thoughts?
Yes, the only reason we're affected is because we have one of the largest fleet in the country. So one thing I'd like to share is that every time a new engine or aircraft is launched, it always has some snags. Even when the Boeing 787 was launched like a few years back, you would remember it had certain battery problems. A lot of those aircrafts were grounded. So one thing I'd like to share, technical detail, when an aircraft is designed, it is tested to take off, cruise and land with single engine. So the single engine is sufficient to ensure safety. Of course, that is not a normal operation. That's not how we fly in commercial operations. But I would just like to assure everyone that everyone's safe. And I think the most safest option was to stop those aircrafts and to make sure the research and development continues. So I think all is well and they should be back up in the air soon in the best possible shape.
Sudha Raman, good morning. This sounds amazing indeed. Kudos, Sneha, and good luck. Proud of you. And Sachin Shirke says, I've become a very big fan of Sneha Sharma's. Lovely. Roger Fernandez, we should respect the DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation's decision to ground aircrafts with defects. After all, air travel is supposed to be the safest travel mode by statistics. I'm sure Sneha would agree to that, being a racer and aircraft pilot. What do you say?
That's right. Safety is the highest concern when we have about 200 lives in our hands. And yes, DGCA is correct. And all the airlines, especially Indigo, I think we work hand in hand with DGCA and always make sure safety is the main concern.
A last leg of conversation. We're streaming live online across the nation on www.onecast.i and numeral 1cast.i and on your Mumbai radio sets on 94.3 on the FM band. And only if you're not driving in the backseat of a radio taxi, chauffeur driven, even though the strike is on, at home, streaming video live on Instagram at HRISHIKAY. And now, how she reimagines India.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Sneha Sharma, airline pilot and Formula 4 racer, how do you reimagine India?
So I reimagine India as a land of equals, a land where your gender doesn't matter, your sex doesn't matter, your age doesn't matter. A lot of elders today decide the fate of the young ones. They pick which career they want to do. Most importantly, a country where a person's sexual orientation doesn't matter. Also, I reimagine India to be friendly for the specially abled. Last year, I went through 8 months of knee injury where I realized a lot of things where our railway stations are not compliant with the special needs of specially abled people. Our government offices are not aligned. If you go abroad, we see there's so many measures taken to make life comfortable for those with special needs. I reimagine India with things complying with these regulations.
Wonderful. Let's talk about those nasty men who you've taught a very, very good lesson by your actions more than your words. Ever had a nasty male passenger on a flight passing sexist comments? And let's move further on from that, which is your alternate profession, which is Formula 4 racing. On the racetrack, have men been nasty in their actions?
Yes, so in racing, a lot of times male drivers have tried to hit me and take me off track. One time, this driver in karts couldn't overtake me for 3 laps in practice. So when I let him pass, he actually hit me 4 times to damage my car in a particular place so that I couldn't participate in the finals. I came back and I was a little upset. He gave me a smirk. Yo, so stay away from me. But I just waited for next session. I waited for him to come beside me, and just for self-defense, I went full left and he flew. And that is when I actually let him know that I belong here. You can't push me around and don't dare to mess with me. So since then,
done, yo! Woman power. And since then? Yeah.
Since then, I think him, including other drivers, don't dare to come very close to my car.
And on the aircraft?
Yes, most passengers are very lovely. They come and appreciate, the fact that a lady is flying. But there was this one guy once who comes and tells me that, but the amount of time it took to land, I could tell it's a lady pilot. We're late because you're a lady pilot. So I was furious, of course.
How dare he? So did you give him a little bit of that back? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him why would he say that. I asked him to stay back because he wanted to leave. But you cannot insult, the operating crew and or even any individual. So he told me that this is how I talk to my wife. To which I said that makes her the most unluckiest woman on earth.
Poor thing.
So later on, he sobered down and he apologized, and then I, of course, let him go.
Sneha Sharma, airline pilot, Formula 4 racer, some great ideas on how she would reimagine India. Just like Visa is reimagining payments by offering various new ways to pay. Dip to pay with debit and credit cards. Tap to pay with contactless cards. Scan to pay with Bharat QR. Click to pay on e-commerce sites. Now an opportunity for you to win yourself a movie voucher. Tell us how you want to reimagine India. For the better, get a chance to win. Go on to the SMS line, type ONE1 space a couple of lines on how you'd like to reimagine India, space your name. Type it in, send it to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, you search for HRISHIKAY, a verified Twitter handle, verified Facebook page will pop up. You hashtag reimagine India. Give us a few lines on how you'd like to reimagine this country, along with your name. Post on the timeline, inbox on Facebook, of course, and facebook.com/radio1.mum, our official page. Hashtag reimagine India. Also tag at Visa IND, and pop it on the timeline, inbox, your Reimagine India story. Sneha, this has been so special. Thank you for rolling by. I can't wait to see you again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, the Wallflowers, Heroes. I'm Hrishikesh.
Hashtag Reimagine India with Hrishikesh. Brought to you by Visa. You reimagine India, Visa reimagines payments.